Alright, this channel's been laying dormant for 6 years. I figured I'd revive it for the special occasion that is Zenless Zone Zero 3.0, which released today. It's Zenless Zone Zero, I've played it before, I've played it since Season 1, since Day 1, I'm pretty sure. And I figured I'd do a challenge account, which is to do a fire-only account where I play the entire game from start to finish with fire characters. It's a game I've played before, so I'm gonna start the story and I'm gonna skip through the parts I've seen before, which is everything. So we should be able to get through the entire game very quickly, and I'm gonna try and rush through the game a little bit, because I want to reach endgame. This series was inspired by mainly Honkai Star Rail, where they have path-only accounts or maybe element-only accounts. In particular, I quite like the series by Kaneki, who's doing a fire-only among others. Another inspiration for this series is Ghost Fiction, who started a support-only account. But the novel thing about the Ghost Fiction vlog series is that they've never played the game before, so you get to experience the game alongside them for the first time. Compared to Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero is a different game. Honkai Star Rail, you're dealing with HP values, damage values that are turn-based, and you're also dealing with healing, and if you don't have enough of one of the three, you're gonna struggle, especially in late game, but also in early game, where if you don't have everything at your disposal, you're gonna struggle. And that's what these challenge accounts in Honkai Star Rail are very interesting for. Zenless Zone Zero is a bit more skill-based, and if you have enough skill, you can get by with even the worst characters, at least for the story. What is going to be more difficult is endgame, and that's why this series is focused on reaching the endgame as quickly as possible, or at least at the earliest convenience, because we're not going to be able to beat endgame at this stage in the game with very little time. Now, what are the rules for this series? Now, the most obvious rule is that we can only play fire agents, but as you can see, we're currently not playing fire agents. Billy is a physical agent, and so is Ambi, is a electric agent. When this is the case, I'm gonna make the rule that I have to play the worst DPS that is available in the team. So in this case, I'm playing Ambi because Ambi is less of a DPS than Billy. The other exception I'll make is if I'm otherwise going to be missing out on polychrom. So for example, in Hollow Zero, you're going to have stages where you are required to play a certain agent in your team, and then I'm going to make the rule that as long as I have one character that is fire, I'm only using that fire character to do damage, then that's fine too. It's going to be a free-to-play account, and that's why I'm going to make that exception for full currency. Last rule, any W engine or bamboo is allowed. Okay, so this is the first elite, and we're going to be required to do some basic tutorial stuff. We're going to try and see if we can use only Ambi and not Billy here. Just need to make sure that I don't accidentally use Billy's chain attack. And as long as we don't do that, it's fine. I'm using manual chain here, and that's why I don't trigger it. We're going to be playing the game in challenge mode. It shouldn't really be an issue here. It'll make the enemies maybe a little bit beefier, but that's not going to be an issue. Oh right, it's the bang burn mode. Back when I first played the game, it didn't have a bang boom mode, it was TV mode. Do you remember that? Then here I think we're gonna go into a little platforming section. I don't know how much of an improvement this was. I think it's fine. It has a little bit less friction. and it's also maybe not as interesting. You can definitely tell that Ambi is not meant to be the DPS here. But I'm doing well. At this point we just have the enemies cornered, we just keep stunning them. It's funny. We've unlocked the events, we haven't unlocked the Gacha machine yet. We're gonna have to keep playing until we unlock the Gacha machine, and then we're gonna have to hope we get lucky and get a fire character, because it's not guaranteed. We're here, we have to pick a name. I know exactly what name I'm gonna pick. It's Crimson Sunset. I would pick Crimson Twilight, but unfortunately that's too many characters. Now that we're named Crimson Sunset, we can now accept some commissions and hopefully level up quickly enough that we unlock the Gacha machine.
Ready for combat.
We have to level up our agents. No, we don't. We can just skip that. This is where we're gonna get a W engine for our Anbi.
Hello and welcome.
We're gonna have to equip our W engine, and that's fine. We can use any W engine we want. And we've unlocked Signal Surge. That means we now have the opportunity to get a fire character. And if we don't get a fire character, we get nothing. Before we get to the banner, I want to discuss why I chose to do a fire only account by going over a slideshow. And I invite you to think about what you would do with a challenge account and how that could look like on your starter pools. First and foremost, we have elements and then we have specialties. I'll start with specialties and why I don't do specialties. For starters, the story is far too easy. And then the only novelty is that you end up in endgame, and endgame is time. So you have DPS checks and you have to worry about actually reaching those DPS checks with your teams. The other reason is you have restrictive additional abilities. Restrictive additional abilities means that sometimes part of the kit of a character is not going to be active, and that can be very boring if you want to make a fun team and you don't have access to half their kit. My last general point is I think future characters will be more restrictive in their power level, where you need their archetypal teammates. It's unlikely that those teammates fit the challenge, so unless there's power creep going on, I don't expect future upgrades to be as meaningful as you might want. Speaking on attack only accounts, I think the issue is going to be that you have too many field time clashes between characters. Pretty much every time you play two attackers, both are going to want to be on field most of the time. The only exceptions are the off-field ones in Orpheus, Seed and Sissia, and that means you're going to be playing those characters in pretty much every team you play. It's, I think, doable for endgame, but it might not be the most fun. Then you have anomaly teams. Anomaly would be valid for disorder comps, where you have usually two anomaly characters in your team. The issue is once you get to a full anomaly team with 3 anomaly characters, you're going to run into anomaly cooldown problems, and that does kind of put a cap on how good those teams can be. I think this is also doable if you want to try. Defense is not viable. There's only 5 characters and you're not going to hit 3 teams, which Shio defense right now requires you to have 3 teams. Rupture is, I also think, not viable. You don't have any synergy between any of the characters. There's Yidari. She gives 5% HP to your whole team with an Ether Veil. Or maybe you have like a stage buff that requires you to have Ether Veils and then you use Yidari again. That's the only synergy between characters you can have. I don't think Rupture is going to be at all doable, and there's also not that many characters. If support characters, I checked, most of them are not going to have their additional ability active, and I think that's going to restrict your team building options quite a bit, and also your damage potential. It's also that supports are not damage dealers. And that means that usually you're going to want some of the later DPS mindscapes that these characters have, like something like usually M6, but also sometimes M4 or even M3 and M5. And the same story for stun characters. You're pretty much never going to have the additional abilities active. Then if we're going to talk about element only accounts, this is roughly the distribution we have. I put DPS all in the same column, whether it be a solo DPS or a hybrid DPS. You can play a hybrid DPS as your main DPS. Then we have stun characters. Now usually in stun characters you play only one of them per team. You could consider playing two. And lastly, support. You could consider Bernice a support, or maybe something like Vivian. But for most of the time, supports are just your support characters or your defense characters. And you can consider playing two supports in your team, and then you'd have a hyper carry setup. The things we noticed from this is that we have quite a lot of fire characters, physical characters, and electric characters, where ether and ice, also wind, fall behind quite quickly. And if we're going to talk about the individual elements, starting from electric, we see that, okay, we have a few free-to-play options in both DPS and stun and support. We also have the benefit of starting out our account with Ambi. There's also that Sissia and Seed are hybrid DPSs. You can play double DPS teams, and I think those can sometimes be pretty interesting and pretty strong. That will most likely work well with future electric DPS characters as well. The last thing that is interesting is Thunder Metal as a disc set. It's very strong. It's just that the conditional requires you to have shock active on enemies, and that's usually unlikely to happen in most of your teams. But if you play electric only, you're gonna have better uptime because you're only playing electric. You're always gonna have electric build up on your agents. The disadvantage of this element is that most of the teams you can play as free-to-play are pretty weak. Most of the characters you have in this free-to-play category, they're not very good. They don't have that much endgame relevance. You can play Grace and Rena. They're okay. The rest are rarely ever played. And also one of the disadvantages is that while Thunder Metal is very good when you have shock on enemies, the damage over time aspect of shock is not very good, because if you reapply shock, you're gonna lose that damage over time that you didn't use. Then we have Ether. Ether is a very small set of characters, where we have the advantage that Nicole is free, and that we have very strong support characters, where I'm gonna include Nicole as a strong support character. But the obvious disadvantage is there's no free-to-play teams here. You're always going to be stuck to premium characters, and for a challenge account that's not very handy. I think also a disadvantage is that you're pretty much always going to be playing the exact same teams. You know, you're going to play Yixuan with Lucia, you're going to play Arya with Nongong, then whatever third team, well, it doesn't really exist right now. That's also a disadvantage. There's not enough characters to play 3 teams for Xiyu. And again, it's another damage over time effect on the anomaly, similar to electric. Fire is one of the bigger categories. We already see we have quite a few free-to-play options, where we're gonna get Ben for free from, I think, Xiyu. I think also interesting is that we have a lot of stun characters, and while that is a disadvantage, it can also be pretty interesting because you're going to be playing teams you otherwise wouldn't be if you weren't doing a challenge account. Also think one of the interesting things about Fire is that you have very technical teams. Banyue and Evelyn are pretty technical in execution. I think that might be fun to try, especially for myself. I haven't tried these characters enough. And the last interesting thing is Inferno Metal is also similar to Thunder Metal, where it's pretty difficult to have good uptime in regular gameplay, but when you play fire only, you're gonna have better uptime on the conditional of applying fire anomalies, and especially if you play Bernice as maybe like a pseudo support, you're gonna have much better uptime on Inferno Mantle, and that's 28% free crit rate. It's very good. The two main disadvantages you can give is that you only have Lucy as your main support, and there's no premium supports that you can have to upgrade your teams. That can still come later, right? And similar to Ether and Electric, it's another damage over time anomaly effect, which is not as strong as some of the other ones we'll see later. Again, because reapplying damage over time anomalies is just disadvantageous. Editor here, I want to clarify that I know some anomaly characters circumvent the issues of damage over time. Also, an important thing, the whole point of starting an account in 3.0 is that Norma will be on the banner in 3 weeks. It's silly that I forgot that pro. We have Ice. Ice is also a smaller one. We have two very good characters in Lycan and Sukaku, some of the best free-to-play support you can have. Especially for example, a Mono Ice Miyabi team, where Sukaku we get for free. To continue on that thought, freeze as a anomaly effect is very strong if bosses are freezable. What are the disadvantages? Well, first of all, Zhao was given out for free. If we're starting a challenge account now, it's no longer free. And from what we've seen from Haramasa hasn't gotten a rerun in like a year and a half. That means we're not getting Zhao. I also already play pretty much every single one of these teams on my main account. I have Ellen, I have Premia, I have Miyabi, I have Lycan, Sukaku, Zhao. I play these characters together as well. I still regularly play Mono Ice. I don't think that's very interesting for me to start that, but it might be interesting for you. But still, you're going to run into the issue where you don't have 3 teams for endgame. Next up we have Physical. Physical has a lot of characters again in the free-to-play category. These are not always the strongest characters, I have to say, for free-to-play. But Billy and Corin you're going to get for free at the start of the game. And then once you want to upgrade your teams, you have a very strong support core, where you have Yuzaha, Suna, Tailin, some of the strongest supports in the game. You also have Pan Yunhu if you want to play S Billy. And then there's also still Yeshen Guang, and Yeshen Guang is currently arguably the best DPS in the game. And you can form 3 full teams out of this, but I don't think it's super interesting for a challenge account because you're pretty much already locked into what teams you're going to want to play. Sure, you can maybe mix and match in the sense that you have a strong support that can work with anybody, so you might swap around where you need it, but you're pretty much always going to play the strongest characters, and you know that they're going to synergize well. I find that not quite as creative as some of the other ones, but Physical is a very good option for a challenge only account. Last one, I have Wind. I don't know if I need to say anything, it's just Felina. It's very novel, 3.0 just released, but we're not going to play endgame with this. We're just kind of banking on more Wind characters being released in the future, and then over time the account will be more interesting. With that out of the way, I think it's pretty obvious why I'm choosing to play Fire only, because I think the teams are going to be interesting because they're not teams you would typically play. It's pretty creative. You have very technical characters that you have to learn how to play, and I think there's some funny aspects you can do with Inferno Metal as a disc set. That's why I'm going to play Fire only. It's also Fire only, I don't have that many of these characters. I have the free-to-play ones, but I don't have any of the premium ones. And I've always looked at these characters and I thought, okay, these look interesting, but never enough that I wanted to pull for them. And this account is an opportunity for me to play those characters that I almost pulled for. It's now time to pull. Let's check what we can get from this. From the A rank pool, we're gonna want Manato, Lucy, or Ben. If we get any of those 3 characters, we're good to go and continue on this account, otherwise we're going to have to create a new account. The alternative is that we get either Soldier 11 or Kaleda. If we get any of those, I'd be happy. I don't need a lot, I just want one of them. It's only 1 A rank, that's not a good sign.
Got a gig that pays
Oh,
well?
it's Nicole.
Count me
That's not what
in.
we want. Okay, we're gonna have one more temple and some single pools. Hope this pool is gonna be better. It's 2 A ranks, 2 chances.
Heading out?
Sukaku, that's not what we
Let
want.
me handle it.
I'll work with you.
Pulchra.
Until I get bored.
If this was a physical only account, that would work, but alas. Here we have another temple. Right. Okay, 2 A ranks again, 2 more chances. The next one. That's... I mean, it would be good on Ben. It'd be good on Ben. It'd be good on Ben. We got it. We can continue on this account. I don't have to make a new one. That's great. Ben, we're gonna get you for free eventually. But I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. And I think I'm gonna do 1 pool. I think I have 1 pool for Felina. Let's do that. I grabbed a few more polychrome from events. If we get Felina here, it'd be surprising. But I think it would change the course of how we're gonna play this account. I know it doesn't make sense to pull for Felina on a fire-only account, but I think it would just be funny. It'd be funny. It's an A rank. Let's hope it's not the banner
You
up.
need a lift?
It's Piper.
Then buckle
That's
up,
not what we
bud.
want. No, we're not getting Felina, I'm afraid. But that's alright, because we've got Ben. And with Ben, we can play this account to its completion. And that's exactly what we wanted. I think we're going to leave it off here. Next episode, I'm going to talk about more about the plan I have for what kind of teams I might think about building. And we're going to continue on the story. See you next episode, whenever that is.